which is great. But they're using American writers, and they're saying that they're going to use Canadian writers soon. But like even like with Netflix Canada, like what like I met with all these people, so I know that they're looking for things to do. But like the truth of the matter is, even if they get something they want to do, they still got to go to the people who run things in LA, who run things internationally, to get the approval to do the Canadian content stuff. So it's still all this is still up in the air, still trying to figure it out. I'm hoping it all works out. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, we just gotta kind of wait and see. But yeah, truthfully, there's more stuff popping out here, but like if you are a content creator, then it's harder. Yeah.
So yeah, just to clarify, you're saying as a writer, it's hard to do it up here. To bring up American writers, but as an actor, this is small fries. The whole industry up here is small fries compared to what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more. Like, it's funny because like living in LA, and I always tell people like, if you want to get a sense of what it's like out there, go to LA during pilot season. Like, first of all, when you go to LA, like, there's so many people there that are in the business. It's wild how many people are in the business, and how many studios you walk by, like just literal buildings that are dedicated to making TV and film, just all over the place. Like there's like full cities, just warehouses where they're just making TV and film, right? So it's just a next level, and that's just LA. It's not even like New York or Atlanta, which is blowing up right now, or all these other places that are finding opportunities to make content, right? So Toronto's great, Vancouver's great, Montreal, and there's a lot of places in Canada that are doing it, right? But it is like a different level when you get down there. Just like the volume of content that gets produced down there is just different. It's just increased. Yeah, absolutely.
I do have one more question. Sorry, I know I'm next to the for a second. Anything exciting coming up? I know you got shows coming up, and that's really cool. But anything, TV shows, anything else happening that you should keep on right there?
Yeah, I mean, like, we're just shooting season 2 of On the Verge right now. I didn't do season 1, but season 2, we've been working on just like representation and making sure it feels even like fresher and better than season 1. It felt was pretty strong, so we're trying to up the game on that, and then that's coming out on January 4th. That's gonna be that's so soon. And then Shell will be soon after that, and then beyond that, I'm just developing a bunch of different things that I can't talk about yet. There's a lot of like really good Canadian content coming out. I've been even like through meeting a lot of like future showrunners through the boot camps that I've been doing. Like, there's a lot of great people doing stuff right now that I'm really excited about. Like, not just my stuff, but like there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe that I'm really excited about seeing. And I'm also hoping that these places that I have a lot of friends who are developing things, that they're waiting to get green lights on certain shows, and I'm just like, if they green light this particular show, like that's a game changer for a lot of different people. So I'm hoping we get some change in the game. So getting there.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
What about kids shows? Are you doing any more kids ones? Or?
I'm developing some kid stuff right now. There's nothing on the horizon that's like really for sure I'm producing, but I still love it. Like, I have a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old. They still they're still like a good they're so good to like watch stuff with and be like, oh, is this working? Does that work? And also seeing what they watch together is interesting, because finding something that works for a 15-year-old and an 8-year-old is so rare, and like just seeing what they watch, like it's helpful for me in terms of like picture stuff. And they're just a good. They don't even realize what a good babies they are. Hopefully they don't watch this.
He will be posted everywhere.
We're not letting you see what we're watching. Yeah. So the basics for the job. So So the showrunner basically of a TV show, like the way I see it is you're kind of like the parent of the show. So it's like all those decisions that come, whether like, you know, artistic, sometimes it's like production stuff, like you're the person that those questions come to. So you're, from the very beginning, you're the one who is deciding like which stories we're going to work on, which stories we're going to do. You help shape those stories, you write some of the episodes, you also are helping your writers like know what to write when they get notes, which notes to take and which notes not to take. So there's a lot of like just kind of curating on that side of things. And then once you have scripts and you're on set, then a lot of the questions about prep come to you from the art department, from wardrobe, from the other producers. Those questions come to you. We have meetings about different things, what you want the tone of the show to be, what you want the look to be with the DP. You're hiring the directors, you're talking to them about what you want things to be. So there's a lot that goes into it. And then even after prep, then you're on set and then you're making sure that the stuff that you conceive is being put into the camera, and that if there are problems that pop up, like say actors get COVID and they can't do that anymore, you have to readjust, you have to change scripts, you have to figure out story. Because you and your writers know the arc of the season, it's easier for you to kind of go in and say, okay, we don't need this, we do need this, make those decisions. So for me, like, it's just a lot of like making decisions and just kind of like hoping things work out, and then if they don't work out, finding solutions. A lot of problem solving, a lot of like thinking on your feet. And I always tell people like prep as much as you can, get as much done as possible, because things are going to go wrong, things are going to go haywire, and it's much better to just focus on the things that are going wrong and trying to figure out what your stories are going to be and all the stuff you should have figured out before, as well as figuring out the stuff that's going haywire. So that way you can kind of like, when things pop up, you can feel your focus on them, take care of them, and then back to what you do. So for me, I'm on set in the morning now. I'm watching stuff get shot, but I'm also in production meetings for the next blocks with the other directors that are coming up. I'm also watching cuts from the previous blocks to get those ready so that I can take them to the network. When the network gives me notes on those, then I'm addressing some of those notes or not addressing some of the notes if I feel like the notes don't work the way they're. If they say a note that I disagree with, then I can push back on some of those things. So just trying to make sure that the show feels authentic and right and real and feels good. My days are crazy is what I'm saying. There are times when I'm just like, I'm talking to somebody, and I look down my phone and I've got like 80 emails. I'm just like, oh, okay. But what I try to do is, I try to have strong writers and co-EPs and other EPs that work with me, so that I have a team of people who are always communicating, always talking, so that they can go to meetings, I can be on set, they can be watching cuts, we'll talk about things together. And for me, it's a good, for me it's mentorship, because they're also learning how to become showrunners themselves when they have their opportunity, but it's also, it's not just mentorship, it's also just like mental health stuff, because I can't be in all those places at once, and I shouldn't be expected to be in all those places at once, because I'm just one person. So, having people around you who understand those things and are learning those things and just giving them an opportunity to have those chances, like, it makes it easier for me, and also makes it better for them because they're getting more out of the show as well. So that's why I say it's kind of like you're the parent of the show, because you're guiding, you're hopefully being someone who's like bringing people up, but also you're the person that sometimes it's like, no, we're not doing that. Like, you have to just kind of like put your foot down sometimes and be like, that's not how we're doing this, we have to go this way. And so that's why it's a big job. Absolutely.
Oh, we have another question.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom. All this is totally valuable. I'm also a Taurus. I understand the control freak.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, like, in your process of writing, like, how do you relinquish your vision to people, and like, how do you know they're on the same page as you in terms of like execution?
So for one of the things that we do is we have so many meetings, like before directors shoot anything. So we have like production meetings, wardrobe meetings, we have art department meetings, and we're in those meetings just kind of talking. And I've always talked to the writers about what we want things to be, what we want things to look like. But then after all that, we still have like a tone meeting with the directors, and that's where we really get into like even more specifics about what things should be. And then on top of that, once we have those meetings and they start shooting, I'm there as well to be there, just be like, oh, yeah, this is great, I really love what you're doing there, and just. But I also don't want to step on anyone's creativity. One of the things I always talk to my directors about is like, another thing that Greg Daniels taught me is like he said, like, you know, he doesn't even remember he said this, but he drew a circle on a board once. And he's like, he feels every episode starts as a circle, and by the end of the episode, you can grow that circle 5%. If you do too much, you jump in the shark, but you can grow it 5%. So I tell my directors, like, you've seen the other episodes, you know what the show is, but I'm okay with you growing the show 5%. So find your 5% and use that to grow, because then the next that comes along, they'll have a new path, and then they can grow 5% more. And then that's why I feel like shows shouldn't be like, I don't people like, oh, the pilot should be the same as episode 100. I don't believe that. I feel like your show should grow, your show should evolve. Like, I think it's important for it. I think otherwise, for me, I think otherwise an audience might get bored, right? So that's kind of like, for me, how I work with control. I feel like I have enough control. I'm cool with like letting people have fun, and because also I learned from that too, right? I feel like if people are bringing something to the table that I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I didn't realize that was an option. That's why I like working in writers' rooms, because like, yeah, you can have ideas and do your own stuff and like figure things out on your own, but like when you have other people in the room with you bouncing ideas off of each other, then all of a sudden it feels like there's just way more opportunities and way more things that are popping up. You're like, oh, I never thought about all this stuff. And so I appreciate having more voices in the room to kind of like help grow the shows.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hi. Are we good? No, sorry. Okay, we're going to step in real quick. So amazing talk so far. My name's Clara. I just wanted to ask you about developmental pitching. So right now I have a play that I wrote, but I'm looking at turning it into TV shows. So how do you protect yourself in that process?
So I guess what I would do, first of all, obviously you have copyright stuff and make sure all that stuff is taken care of, so that when you get to a place where someone's buying the TV version off of you, that the IP is yours. So that's legal stuff that I would take care of. And then I think in terms of like turning it from a play to a TV, like to a TV show or film, TV show, I think the thing to figure out there, that they're going to ask you like, you know, what's episode 50, right? So like, how are the characters going to be engaged every single time? Like, what is the engine for their stories? I think that's what I'd have to figure out for. And anytime I'm pitching a new show, like one of the things I always figure out are, I figure out the story, the different story engines, like what's gonna give me each story every episode, and what am I gonna be focusing on? I also think about, they always ask like, why are you the person who's telling the story? That's one of the things they always ask, like, why is this specifically you telling the story? Why now? Like, why is this story important now? This is also something they'll ask you. And then for me, it's about like characters, who these characters are, how they're going to grow, what their arcs are, not just for the season, but for the run of the series. And then I think if you can figure out a little story, like little story ideas, because that thing about a play, which I obviously come from the theater world, it's about, you know, sometimes it can just be about this one story, this one time in their lives or what have you, like figuring out how to expand upon that, or what's the story beyond those moments. And then if it's a play that they've read and they like, and you already have an audience, which they're already happy about, telling them like, you know, here's how we're going to take that and extrapolate on it to make it even more engaging and find a bigger audience. But I think what's nice about having something that you've already written, you can say, look, it already has an audience, it's already related to people in this way, it already connects to people in this way, so why not take it from the stage and put it on TV where it can have a way more audience? Does that help?
Yeah, lower risk. They open up.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. A lot of times, if it already has an audience, they're excited to jump on board because they're like, oh, it already got some people like it. They start going in that direction.
Okay, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I was just wondering, have any popular writing structures influenced your writing style?
Writing structures? Yeah, I think for me, like, it's so funny because once I started like writing TV, you start getting into like the structure, like, you know, three act structure, 2-act structure, and different things. Like, I started realizing, like, I started seeing TV like The Matrix a little bit. Like, I'd see the numbers, you know what I mean? I had, like, all the zeros and ones would appear whenever I was watching TV shows. I was like, oh, and I can start figuring out what's going to happen at the end because, oh, this happened in the first act, so this is going to happen in the third act. For me, some of the structures I really enjoy, especially in TV, I enjoy 3-act structure because I enjoy setting something up. I enjoy figuring out what the problem is by the end of that first act. And then I enjoy the twist that comes at the end of the second act that leads into the third act. For me, I love that idea of like, you know, what's the big moment and how do we twist it? Like, it's kind of like, Simpsons kind of does it backwards, like, you know, where they have like that beginning thing where there's the first act is always kind of like in one direction. That almost the first act is like usually like an episode unto itself, and then it'll just jut off into like some other weird place for the next 2 acts. But for me, I feel like that structure, that TV structure, that 3-act TV structure is the one that I've always felt jive with me the best. But I think for me, like the other thing that I always talk to writers about, regardless of what structure you use, I was like, a story is just basically about a character who has a goal and the obstacles that are in that person's way before they get to the goal, right? So it's always about like character, what's their goal? Obstacle, obstacle, obstacle. Do they get to the goal? Yes. Do they get to the goal? No. It's up to you what happens, but that's just basically, that's all storytelling is, right? And that's one of the things, like, when I talk to like young people about storytelling and that sort of stuff, it's like, all right, what's your character's name? Great. What's their goal? Cool. What are 3 things that can stop them from getting that? And then all of a sudden you have a story because you have a character, their goal, 3 obstacles, and then you're off and running, right? So that to me is the structure that I try and use. If I get stuck, I'm like, oh, the obstacles are too weak or too soft, or the goal's not clear. Like, those are the things that I always come back to when I'm having problems with the story. It's like, oh, something's off here. Usually it's one of those things.
Actually, I do have one more question, sorry.
Yeah.
What's your favorite TV show ever?
Oh, my favorite TV show ever? You know what? The one that comes back all the time, Seinfeld. Seinfeld always been like, that structure, also the idea of like dovetailing stories, creating like 3 or 4 different stories and having them all crash into each other at the end. It's probably my favorite. Because that always, I can't like not watch an episode when it's on TV. But I'll also like say quickly, like the 2, I realized that recently the 2 films growing up that kind of formulated like partially my style, but like it's a little weird, but like the Muppet movie is very much ingrained, but also Blazing Saddles. Like those 2 movies, I feel like I'm like a racist Muppet because that's kind of like how my comedy, like a lot of my sketch comedy, especially, just like it feels like those 2 shows, those 2 movies have intertwined themselves in my brain somehow and led to the ridiculous person you see before you.
Do you think it's good to still do stand-up and sketch? Because Jerry Seinfeld, I saw him live and he was amazing.
I would still, I get jealous when I see friends doing it because I'm always like, oh, I want to get back on stage. I just never have the time to do it. But like it's like I always felt like therapy. Like if you figure it out, stand-up is like therapy. It's just like you're just getting on the stage and just telling people.